Hi, everyone. Welcome. Good morning to the US. Good afternoon to Europe. And all of you for taking your time and coming to meet us today. Today is we've started a series of webinars in the last month regarding our technology, regarding our solution. We've held several already webinars. You can find them on our YouTube channels. But today is a very technical webinar. Together with me on this webinar is Simeon Gelband. He's the head of L3 support here at Ayyeka. My name is Isaac Sachs. I'm the communication director. And we have a very exciting webinar for you today. Some of the stuff that we're going to cover today is we actually going to very quick short introduction into Ayyeka's solution. It's very hard to explain the complexity of what we do, but we will try to do it in a couple of slides, really short slides, and then straight away we're going to dive into three approaches to extract data from our platform and to be used in external applications. The third part is Q&A. Please note that on the bottom of your screen, you should have a button for questions that you can answer, that you can ask during the presentation. Please feel free to reach us. And if you're living in the middle and we don't have time, you can always send us an email at info@ayyeka.com. So Ayyeka basically has been working for the past decade. Our core business is to use IoT devices to drive data-driven decisions to multiple organizations. We've been working with engineer companies, utilities, cities, municipalities, environmental agencies. And the idea is to extract data and to protect critical infrastructure. We help decision makers make actionable decisions, meet regulations, inform regulatory compliances, so many things. Sorry, there's so many things that I want to say in this slide. Increasing health and safety for crew members, so people don't have to go into down manholes. They don't have to drive in the snow into far location. We're reducing the cost of operations and so much more. The question that we're always being asked in terms of our hardware is, what is the difference between us and everything that you've been doing so far? So everyone has been doing data-driven monitoring, remote monitoring for the past 25 years. And I think that the main thing over here is that you have one hardware that can basically transmit data for so many applications. So we've been working with environment, measuring rainfalls and wind speed and things like that, energy, water, wastewater, and so many more. But the idea is not over here to put focus on these kinds of stuff, and more to let Simon speak over here on how we transmit all this information into almost any third-party platform. Or in other words, same transmission technology across multiple platforms. So as I try to explain so far, basically Ayyeka is built from the hardware that is connected to multiple sensors, connects to endless sensors, not endless, let me be more specific because this is being recorded and you're going to quote me. 189 sensors off the shelves from 62 leading manufacturers. We take this data, we bring it to the cloud, and then we transmit it into any platform, SCADA, big data, analytics, BI, etc. In this webinar specifically, we're just going to focus on the transmission of the data. We're going to do it by three ways that we're going to explain in a second. And I hope that it made sense so far. And if it doesn't, ask me questions at info@ayyeka.com. And if not, please follow us on LinkedIn. We will be discussing our hardware in a different webinar dedicated just for that. Simon, you ready? We're going to jump straight away into APIs, right? So the first way to extract data from our platform into any platform is a full API. And the first example that I want to bring over here is actually one of our clients, Can-Do. Can-Do is a very interesting client because their goal is to protect critical infrastructure, basically alert the wastewater treatment plants on any loads that is coming through their cities. They're using our devices in order to monitor remote locations and especially factories. So they're using intrinsically safe hardware that we supply, and we're using all sorts of manipulations in order to find BOD, COD, high levels, and basically to protect the wastewater treatment plant. Simon, I think this is a good time for you to take in and start to explain how we actually do that.
Great, thank you very much. Just want to make sure that I'm presenting. Can you see my screen now? Okay, there we go. Okay, let me try to share again. It says I cannot start share while others are participating in share. So you have to unshare yours. There we go. And let's show one person. Okay, sorry for that delay, everyone. So my name is Simeon Gelband. I'm in charge of I'm the customer success manager here at Ayyeka. I've been working here for the past 3 years. And in short, I'm responsible for pretty much anything post-sales related. I saw in the invitation list there are many of customers that I've worked with in the past. I'm glad you're all joining us today. And the kinds of things that I can work on, that I help customers out with, is device setup and configuration, developing best practices. I'll even oftentimes head out to see customers on site. We do have something called the Learn Wave program that you could purchase a day for us to come on site and help you with some best practices and make sure that the solution that we deploy is actually meeting your business needs. Sometimes I might be helping you with remote sensor integration and everything else that we're going to discuss today in terms of different ways that we can extract data from the system once it's been collected into the Ayyeka cloud platform. So first, what I want to do is just, I'm showing right now our login screen to excuse me, to our demo island. So this is just a sample system, and we can provide access to people who would like to kind of drive the experience of everything that we're going to discuss today. Get logged in. There we go. Okay, so first I wanted to just mention before I dive into other ways to extract data that in the application itself, we do provide ways to get applications. Here you can see a sample set of situations that we normally encounter, and you can see on the map how everything is laid out nicely onto our island. And one of the first things that you might want to do is to simply show a couple, let's say one at the map, how the pressure looks like across, let's say 2 different points. Maybe I want to zoom into a particular area, and then maybe I want to save this for a report. So we allow you to go ahead and do that analysis and export that. So that would be one way to export data from our system. We have an entire section over here called the report section. I'm not going to spend much time on it today, but I did want to make everyone on today's call aware that we do have a complete facility here for ad hoc reporting that will allow you to select particular streams of information that we're collecting, extract the raw data, and create your own CSV files, ad hoc export. And we even allow you to save report definitions. So the only thing you'll have to do is select the definition and then select the date range in which you want to actually get reports from. So that's all what's inside the application itself. But oftentimes what we're asked to do is actually provide ways in which we can feed information into third-party systems. So the first one that I want to tackle is what Itzhak started off talking about, and that's where we have customers that want to actually get direct access through our API and build their own applications, such as Condu. And here, what you'll see is that we do provide a full REST API and exposes all kinds of ways to extract data out of our system. Pretty much anything that we're recording into the system itself, which you could typically see in the interface over here, for example. If I wanted to take a look at a particular stream in the interface, you would see that, for example, if I want to take a look at the levels, so here we could see things like the raw values that are produced, right? But we want to get these values and timestamps out of our system and into yours. So that's how you could use the API to do this. Everyone has the ability to generate API keys. When you generate an API key from your user account, it'll adopt the permissions of your specific user, but it gives you the control to not pass your secure password on to applications that might be readable. And through the console over here, you can easily delete or suspend API keys, so you can keep the integrity or security of your applications. So once you do that, and once you generate the key, and generating a key is a simple task just like this, and you can say API, you'll notice that you'll get a set of keys. One is the key, one's the secret. The secret you'll only see on this screen the first time you generate it, and then you capture this information and use it in order to generate API tokens in your applications. Now, once you do get an API token, there's a certain process of doing that, and I've walked many customers through how to make sure they can get an authentication token. The information is all documented here in our API documentation, and I just want to kind of take you to our REST API reference, and here you can see that everything, every method that you can get information out of the system programmatically. So this is definitely the lowest level to access data. We give you samples in all various languages, curl, Java, JavaScript, and so on. We're always available to help get you started with your first couple of calls to make sure that you're on the right path. And after that, it's up to your imagination. So I just wanted to kind of end this API segment by showing you a kind of small program that we did for one of our customers using exclusively the API. And that's a meter health report. And what you can see here in the meter health report is that we've extracted, using the API, things like site names and stream names and the values that are currently in the system. And then we allowed for extended metadata tags. I'm going to show you where those show up for the customers to define ranges of valid values. And then they were able to apply their own logic using their own program to show whether or not the values that are currently being read by the registers for this particular meeting is within acceptable ranges or not. And now we have a very easy way to create a web application to show a health report for a specific meter device. So that's just one example of a very simple application that we were able to build for a customer, leveraging exclusively the REST API. I'm going to stop here and see if there are any questions that may have came in regarding the REST API.
We have one question, but it's a little bit off topic. Will you be able to show CSO capabilities? I think it's a little bit off the topic, and we're going to park that one, but we're definitely going to show it, yes, if we have time at the end of the presentation.
All right, so we're going to move on to the second part of our segment, and now that we understand the lower level of the REST API, we've created additional agents that does not require the actual programming of anything. In fact, it's all done through configuration files. I'm just going to get back to here. And you'll notice over here in our agent section that it's very simple. In order to grab the CSV agent, all you have to do is click the download button. And you'll notice that once you download the agent itself, it'll actually create its own set of keys that are specifically bound to this download and will show up as an additional client in the API clients over here. So we should see that update in just a moment. Here we go. So I'm going to cancel the download. But if we just refresh here, you'll see that there's an auto-generated API key that went with that download. So the CSV agent is leveraging the same exact infrastructure that I showed you before, where you could program your own program, but we've done all the programming for you. And we created a framework that allows you to simply configure files and export CSV files the way that you want. We far and away find this to be the best way to integrate with third-party applications. I've almost never encountered an application that doesn't know how to consume flat files. And we are extremely, extremely flexible in terms of how we can produce flat files for you. We have, just by leveraging the CSV file, configuration file.
I have a question, Simon, if you don't mind. So who would be the ideal candidate to download this CSV file and to use these codes?
So this is definitely anyone who wants to automatically pull information off of our system as it comes in. I just want to remind everyone a little bit about our infrastructure and architecture. All of the readings are being logged on a remote logger, and then the logger is calling in and pushing that data into our web interface periodically, depending on how often you're transmitting that data. And what this agent's going to do, it's going to pull the server, and you could determine, you could say within the programming of the actual agent, how often do I want to pull the server to see if it has new data for me? And you could make that even every minute. And then once it actually creates the, once we actually get to that point where it creates where it finds new data on the server, it'll simply pull it into the formats that we predefined. So I just want to show, first of all, our help is once again very extensive in this area. So once you get a login into the system, all you have to do is click on help, and you can just click on the CSV, just put it in the search, and you'll immediately get a very, very detailed report, documentation on all the aspects of this API, of what you can do with the CSV agent. It is extremely powerful, it's extremely scalable. We've also built in, as you can see, into the CSV agent, its own monitoring utilities, so that it'll actually, this over here, the CSV monitor configuration descriptions, and it'll do things like do a heartbeat against the agent to make sure it's still alive for operational systems. It'll also check that the file system that it's landing files to are still meet the requirements, the minimum requirements and such. Beyond that, I'm just going to show you what a configuration file looks like and how we can kind of so here's a CSV agent JSON file. This is the only file that you're going to have to actually configure if you go to the CSV option. And here you can see that we're going to put your unique keys over here. It has an endpoint that's defined, which means that the CSV agent is only going to use one secure endpoint. You can see that it's using an HTTPS call. So it's super easy to put a highly restrictive firewall rule to make sure that the agent is very secure in terms of delivering data to your system. And here we could talk about how often to backfill, how often to pull metadata, and we're going to talk about how the metadata helps us and how extensible the system is for essentially relating tags that might be in the third-party system with the data that we're generating and capturing in our system. Here you can see that you can create your own unique headers, and here we're calling specific tags that are all documented as variables that are going to generate. And here's a very, very simple CSV file. It's going to say, give me my stream tag name, give me the date stamp, and give me the value. Okay, here we're allowing you to create your own time date stamp formats so that it could adhere to the system that we're trying to import into. And the time zone information that's relevant to all time zones in our system are captured at DNT, but you can choose which offset you want to visualize your data in by simply putting a parameter here. And then we could filter what streams and what data we want by looking at specific custom tags. I'm going to cover the custom tag in a moment because it's a very powerful feature that allows us to do many, many things as far as integration is concerned. And here we could even split by and write out custom names for file names. So it's a very, very powerful configuration file. And like I said, it's often my job to help customers make sure that they get past the initial hurdles of getting this working on their system, but then it's very easy for you to maintain and configure on your own moving after that. So I just want to show the extensibility area of the application, and that would be over here. When you're an owner of your system, you'll notice in your account settings, this little gear wheel over here, and that's going to point you to two areas for site custom attributes and stream custom attributes. Sites are basically the metadata that we keep about the location itself, and there you might want to put particular kind of attributes that you want to keep track of. And stream metadata would be the particular streams that we're capturing data on, like level. So let's say for my CSV integration dumps, I don't care about all this operational information about the health of the wavelet. Really, I want to just get the data that's collected. So oftentimes there might be add stream to CSV, and then you could just select very easily whether or not that particular stream should be included by simply editing the stream itself. And here you can see those extensible metadata tags being available. And we do have command line utilities to help this process along as well for our very large systems that might be implementing this across hundreds, if not thousands of wavelets. I'm going to now jump to...
Before you jump, we just have a question over here. Can you review what the agent is used for again? Is it basically an automated report that we can set up, or how is it different than just calling the API with Curl or Python?
So again, this is designed for situations where you don't want to code or you don't have in-house resources to do that. So what's amazing about the CSV agent is that it'll produce the flat files that you want in the format that you want with the data that you want without having to learn how to program in REST API. So, but if you know how to do it, then obviously you can generate this on your own. Additionally, this can either run, we have three ways of deploying the CSV agent. We could either deploy it on a scheduled basis through the command line. You could deploy it as a service and pull as often as you'd like, or you can deploy it as a Linux Docker container. So we do offer it in many ways to deploy the agent in your own environment. And we've had requests from quite a few customers to actually host this and simply deliver the results, which are the flat files that we're producing, to their FTP sites or to various other locations. And we do hope to offer that as a full-fledged service soon, but we are offering it already as a beta. Okay, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. And as far as CSV agents goes, is there any other questions regarding this?
Oh, yeah. Very few SCADA systems have the possibility of consuming REST API out of the box. Which another mechanism Ayyeka has for integration?
That's brilliant. So that's a great transition into the next section, which is our DNP3 agent. So that is how we would talk directly to SCADA systems. So let me just see over here. I think I just wanted to show an example of where the CSV agent is being used. So here you can see, and to your point regarding SCADA systems, that we have Cincinnati who opted to move from DNP3 actually to CSV. And there it's loading the CSV data through the historian, the SCADA historian, that's ultimately feeding their BI tools. And here you can see an example of all that data being loaded and used in their third-party iFix business intelligence and analytics tools. But that being said, you know, we might want to load directly into the front end of the SCADA, and by that we offer DNP3 is our primary agent of recommendation, and it's by far it's richer, and it's also now using the REST API as its base. We did in the past, and we can offer for specific use cases also OPC-UA. But you have to make sure that if all you want is alerting, you could do the DA implementation. If you need historical, you need the HA implementation. And we found pretty much most SCADA vendors not so great at supporting OPC-UA HA. So that's all I'm going to talk about OPC. I'm going to focus a little bit now on our DNP3 agents. So thank you for setting us up there. So the way that the DNP3 works is very similar to what we were talking about before in terms of it's fully documented over here in the help section. And once again, all you have to do is type in DNP3, and you'll get an entire guide about our outstation installation and all of, as well as the some of the utilities and the downloads, I believe, are at the bottom of this. So it's fully available off the help section. There you go. Those are the latest builds that we have for the DNP3 agent. You can see that we have 32-bit and 64-bit builds. Our prerequisites in terms of servers, this will only work on a Windows platform. And now I'm going to actually delve into a little bit of the tooling. Let me just discuss some of the highlights of the DNP3. So as I said, the new agent that we just recently released used to be built on a SOAP API. We've now moved everything to our REST API. You can create a secure DNP3 server in your location that your SCADA system can access, and all it's going to be doing is when you install this agent on your server, it's going to pull the data off our system using the REST API again in a very secure way, only over HTTPS calls and to a specific host. So once again, very easy to secure down access to your SCADA system and make sure that it's secure. Once the data is received by our agent, it then presents it to a DNP3 server as unsolicited data so your SCADA system can consume it. We also provide a full set of tools to help troubleshoot integration issues with the SCADA. I'm going to show you a few of those in a moment. So we provide, for example, our own master SCADA server and the ability to push special virtual streams for testing and integration. We provide full mapping from our stream set and our own metadata into SCADA formats. We can roll back data to allow you to rerun data streams. And as I showed you, everything is fully documented. So let's take a look at what some of these tools look like. I actually kind of like prepared, I'm running a DNP3 agent now, actually against the server. And I'm just going to show a couple of screens here. So first of all, we have a CLI for the DNP3, and it allows us to look at the info of the mapping as well as to reset the send dates and pack up logs for analysis. So again, this is some of the utilities that we provide for DNP3 integration. And here you can see if I do the info, for example, it'll show a full mapping to all of the data. So here we can see what the streams are in our system and how they map into the SCADA system as analog channels. You can also see the last values of samples that were pulled and the dates. So this kind of gives us some idea in terms of what the SCADA agent is supposed to be doing. As I said, this runs as a Windows service. So what I'm going to do over here is set up our DNP3 master, so we can see what the DNP3 master is actually reading. So let me just execute that. There we go. Now it's started. Okay. And over here, I'm just going to tail the log out of the agent so we can see what the agent is currently doing. As you can see, it's currently stopped. Nothing's going on. We're going to start the agent now. So I'm going to click on our agent. Here's our Ayyeka DNP3 agent. We're going to hit the play. You can see it came alive over here in the bottom part of the screen. And you can see what the SCADA system is reading on the top part of the screen. So it's starting to send unsolicited data, and it's initially failing. But here you can start to see that it actually got some values coming through. And you can see the metadata is coming through with the last values. Let me just stop it here just so we can kind of take a quick look in terms of what the SCADA system is seeing. Here we go. So we could see that our agent properly sent through particular values that the SCADA master is reading. Again, I know there's a lot of technical details, and this is meant to be a technical talk today. I don't want to go too far, but I did want to show that we have full capabilities to support SCADA integration as well. So just going back to the DNP3. So here is an example of a typical SCADA kind of scenario where you would see, our data feeding a SCADA system, for a very large deployment like a municipality, in this case, the city of Cincinnati. And here we can see that we're basically giving you multiple ways that you can feed the SCADA system. You could use the DNP3 agent. As I said, we also offer OPC-UA in certain circumstances. And what some customers decide to do is to feed the historian. This is any way the data we're collecting, historical data, and use the historian as a backdoor to populate the analytical data that they're looking for, and they can use the historian to present it into the SCADA as well. So all options are available, all depending on how you want to integrate our solution into your customized solution.
Maybe I'm going to stop you over here for a second, and I just want to ask a question because I'm so interested in the answer. Why would people feed the historian? I mean, why, and only then to the SCADA? Why not directly to the SCADA itself?
So for a couple of reasons, most of the time the DNP3 agents are fed through middleware, which could slow down the data access into the system. The SCADA system's ability to consume the data that could be very, very large, we found on large scale deployments, could start to get problematic. We do offer in our configuration for the DNP3, just getting into more technical details, the ability to break down our server into multiple servers, serving on different ports and doing port mappings in order to facilitate very large scale integration and deployments. But most people, at the end of the day, find it just simpler and more straightforward and easier to feed the historian. Like I said, in any event, the data that you're getting is somewhat historical. Again, in a properly configured system, the delay between an event being identified and read in the field to when it's actually fed into the historian might be on a scale of 3 to 5 minutes, even sometimes to 2 minutes, depending on how well things are tuned. So, but it's always going to be delayed nonetheless, and for that reason, the historical, in most enterprises that we found, the SCADA system really represents the source of all of the information that's being tracked, and the historian is what's used for analytics. So in a way to kind of feed the analytics system, the best place to feed that data is into the historian itself. Okay, so I pretty much finished the three. So what we covered again is the 3 ways to get information out of our system. We offer a full API through REST. Again, by far and away, the easiest way to get up and running without any programming at all is to use our CSV agent. And for those who need to directly interact with the SCADA system and make our devices look as though they are full SCADA systems, we do offer the DNP3 agent and OPC-UA agents. All right, I'm happy to take on any questions. close the call.
No, so we're not getting any questions. Just hit the next one. Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we are already running a series of webinars. The next webinar, I mean, there's so many elements to Ayyeka and what the services that we're providing. What you're seeing now on the screen is actually our mobile application. It can be downloaded from Google Play or App Store. And we're having a webinar, recorded webinar, in this coming Thursday, 26th of March, ran by Adina Wisblatt, our mobile product manager. This will be very interesting webinar because it's going to deal with how we're empowering field crews, you know, and how to make changes in the field, how to take samples, so many things over there to cover. Please send questions and information over there. And I see already that there's first question coming in. What are the options of sharing API with outside organizations? Looks like it's easy enough to load into internal apps, but how about sharing with outside organizations? Corey, thank you very much for great questions through this webinar.
Hi. So actually, we do have a hierarchy account system within the application called organizations. So even within your account, you can very easily subdivide devices to different organizations. If you go into the account section, you'll notice that you have the ability as an owner to create and add whatever organization you want, and then you can move devices into that organization. And then you could create organization users. So a user created an organization will only have the scope of that organization. And therefore, you could then say, okay, if this particular outside person needs access to data for that particular, that we're logging from that particular device, then that's one way to share the information through the API. We also have a new feature where we could create virtual sites on our system. That would be yet another way that we could share information with other organizations by just sharing portions of what's being logged through a wavelet. So for example, we have a customer that services the chill water and heating space, and in their lobby, in their concentrators that we're recording, they're actually might be recording for more than one tenant, multiple businesses, and therefore even the scope of just one device might be too much to give to one particular customer. And in that situation, we're creating virtual devices, sites that will allow you to split off streams from different customers. So we could do it per device, we could do it on the stream level. There are different ways in order to provide access. And then once we scope that access through an organization or through an account, then you would simply create the appropriate tokens, API tokens under that user that belongs to that organization, and that would provide the scope to make sure they can only access the information you intend them to access.
Okay, great.
Another question that came over here that I can answer: was this webinar recorded? And if so, where can it be downloaded? So yeah, this webinar is being recorded. Once it's going to be finished, we will send a follow-up email with a presentation, and the recording can be seen on YouTube. We're going to upload it into YouTube. We're also going to cut it a little bit into sections to make it a little bit more consumable for each one of the agents or the APIs, and you can find it over there. Great.
All right, close the call.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for everyone for participating. Thank you for listening. As I mentioned, this webinar will be published on YouTube. You can always contact our support, amazing support that are more than happy to answer your question. It's support ayyeka.com. If you have any applications that we haven't mentioned in the first slide and you want to see if we can actually solve and help you monitor that, please send us an email to info@ayyeka.com. And I want to thank Simon for his time and his well of knowledge. And thank you all for participating.